Hello everyone and welcome back to the video by me, The Witcher George. So The Witcher 4's trailer has finally released, and I can confidently say now, Witcher 4, it's not Witcher Polaris or whatever the other name was, it is actually officially The Witcher 4. So there's been a lot of news that's come out with this. To be honest, it came out of nowhere for me. I was very surprised when this trailer dropped, and I feel like we've got very little about The Witcher 4, then suddenly a lot. So in today's video, I'm just going to break down what I've noticed in the trailer. I'm sure there's a lot that will come out eventually from other fans and other people that make videos about this sort of thing, and let's just see what we can all share together and work out about this trailer so far. So the first and most obvious thing is that the protagonist is Ciri. It is confirmed. For ages we kept thinking, is it going to be a witcher that you make yourself or something like that, but no, it's Ciri. And this feeds into a lot of the theories that we've been having for a while about this, especially in regard to the school of the lynx, and I'm going to get into the implications a bit later, but for now I'm just going to break down what we saw in the trailer and what this means so far. So the first thing that I wanted to draw attention to, that I think is probably the most important thing, is that Ciri has Witcher eyes, and that means she has undergone the mutations somehow and is now a proper Witcher. So this has so many implications for the world of The Witcher, because first of all, it was thought for a long time that girls could not become Witchers, so this is one of the things that I suppose CD Projekt Red are now confirming, girls can become Witchers. And on top of that, it's also the fact that she's able to use signs, which I'm not sure if that's to do with the mutations. She could use magic before, but she kind of blocked herself off from that. She had access to the Elder Blood, but is seemingly just using normal magic now, or the Witcher sign, so that's another thing that's new for her character. And the next thing is she's also using potions, which I suppose would make sense as a Witcher. Her body could withstand those really strong toxins. In fact, something I noticed throughout the trailer, which was quite interesting to me, is that she didn't seem to use the Elder Blood at all. I don't know if there's going to be a in-game lore explanation for that, because if you remember at the end of The Witcher 3, she was incredibly powerful with the Elder Blood, and the fact that in this entire trailer she doesn't use it at all to fight this monster, you would assume that perhaps she's lost the connection to it, or maybe going through the mutations did that, or we don't know, we have no idea, but she doesn't seem to use any kind of Elder Blood power, at least based on what I've seen in the trailer. There's one thing she does, which I've never seen before in The Witcher, where she seems to draw on water, and I put on my headphones and I really listened, and it does sound like water. At first I thought maybe she's drawing from a source in the rock next to her or something like that, but it is definitely water, and then she creates some kind of electricity-based sign. I've never seen it before. No idea if this is actual magic or a new sign, but it does look quite interesting. It looked a little bit like the effect Quen has when it breaks. I mean, slightly similar, or like the older Witcher games Quen, the Witcher 2 especially. The next thing I wanted to mention is just in regard to the actual trailer, it seems to take place, in my opinion, somewhere in the Northern Realms. It looks very much like Velen to me. I don't know if this is going to be the case. It could be somewhere in Nilfgaard. I had this idea that it could be possibly Cintra. That was an idea that came up. I would have said Kovir, but I always picture Kovir as being a bit sort of more cold, and I wouldn't have thought of it as being so similar to the other Northern Realms, although perhaps it is Kovir, it could very much be there. But another thing I wanted to mention is that the way CD Projekt Red have always done these trailers is sometimes they will introduce something that is canonically at the start, or it will be canonically at the end of the game. So, for example, with The Witcher 3, they released the A Night to Remember trailer, and that was in Tucson, and that was in the third expansion. So perhaps this Witcher 4 game will not begin with us playing Ciri as a Witcher immediately. Maybe we will actually learn how she became one, how this fits into the lore, and it won't just be like, oh, she's a Witcher now, we have no explanation, she's just, yep, girls can be witches, that's the way the lore is. I'm wondering if they will actually make the first part of the game a kind of story in this regard and actually explain it to us. To be completely honest, at first I was not sure if it was actually Ciri or just a character that looked incredibly similar, because, well, I thought if a Witcher underwent the mutations and had white hair and so on, it could just be another person, but it is Ciri. There has been confirmation of it, and it is confirmed she is a Witcher. At least that's what on Twitter. I was reading over a full description of the entire trailer as written by CD Projekt Red, and it says, to quote directly, she has a prominent scar on her cheek, and her eyes are yellow and cat-like. And also before then it says, the figure's hood falls down during their heated exchange, revealing the figure to be Ciri. So it's definitely Ciri, and she's definitely a Witcher. I mean, that's all we can say. It's not even a sort of pretend Witcher now, like an official Witcher. So the next thing I wanted to mention is that if you look at her armor, it looks incredibly similar to the default hunter's armor that Geralt has, which I think is a kind of nice callback because it reminds me of the trailers that came out about The Witcher 3, which were great, and that armor is just iconic for Geralt, so gotta love that. I also wanted to mention that the swords she's using do not look that similar to the Witcher 3 gift she received from Geralt if you go the Witcher's path, where Ciri becomes a Witcher, which seems to be the canon route now. But if you look at her sword, I'd say the hilt looks like a slightly different pattern. I mean, it's similar, but it's a bit different, so I'm not sure if they're going with that sword, or maybe she got a new one or something like that, but that's just something I thought was interesting to draw attention to. And the next thing is that the monster, I've never seen that monster before. I don't know if I'm just missing something in my Witcher lore knowledge, but it looks like some kind of relic or a unique monster of some kind, so maybe we'll see more of them. Maybe this is just a unique monster that is only in a certain quest. Maybe we'll get to play this quest in the game. Could be interesting. So now I want to discuss briefly the implications that come from this trailer, and as I said before, some of the main ones are the lore changes in regard to girls being able to become witches, which is something that, as I said, you can sort of make in the lore in a way if you are careful with it, because all you would have to do is essentially have developments with the witcher mutagens, and maybe female witches are slightly different to the male counterparts or something like that. You can make adjustments there, it just depends if they would go back and say, well, it was always a thing, we just didn't talk about it. That's a different way of handling it. Maybe they just made developments with it with a really good mage's knowledge, something like that. I would say the thing that's concerned me a bit about this trailer is the fact that already I have this kind of feeling that it's made the decisions we made in The Witcher 3 have almost no meaning, because of course she's not going to be the Empress based on the fact she's a Witcher. I mean, if she is, that'll be an interesting story, and the ending where she possibly dies, it's possible she could come back and become this Witcher, so it doesn't really make that one invalid. The Witcher one is obviously the closest one, but the main thing is that in The Witcher 3, it's sort of how she's finally mastered the Elder Blood, and the fact she's struggling at all in this trailer against a monster is very strange to me, because you would assume that as the master of the Elder Blood at this point, she wouldn't even need to be a Witcher to just obliterate it. So I find this quite confusing, and that's why at first I was not sure if this was actually Ciri, because if it was Ciri, I thought, how is she struggling with this? Why is she using signs? Just use the Elder Blood and instantly kill the monster. So that's something that I'm a little bit concerned about, because I want them to explain exactly what that means. I think that a lot of people are against the idea of Ciri being a protagonist for some of the reasons I've mentioned already, but for me, I think that I don't see a problem with it. I just think I'm going to have a pretty... For me to enjoy the game, it's going to have to be a pretty good explanation why she decided to be mutated, why she decided that that was a necessary thing for her to do, why she's using signs, how she's got this connection back with magic in that kind of way. I think that these are certain things that are quite important in the lore, and I'm kind of curious how they're going to tackle that. I would say overall, the feeling of the trailer was very Witcher-esque. It was good. It was a good trailer. It was interesting. I just think as someone that likes the Witcher's lore and likes the characters and the sort of established ideas around it, it's sort of setting off a few red flags for me in regard to just how are they going to make this fit properly. Because Ciri is a character that we've known for a long time, even throughout the books, and her arc was the kind of Elder Blood arc, so now she's having a Witcher arc, and it's how has she got to this point? That's what I want to know. There's nothing about it yet, but there was something I read which was quite interesting. So IGN did an interview with the current game director for The Witcher 4, I should say The Witcher 4, and here's a quote from Kalemba. So he says, "There was an intention behind this choice. It was far from roulette. It wasn't random. I remember we had discussions 9 years ago. We were talking about who's next. The very, very instant answer was Ciri. There are many reasons behind that. We've already mentioned a few, but she really deserves the stage, and we want players to really experience her story because she has so much to tell, so much to prove. The amount of challenges that are in front of her give us so much amazing energy and fuel to create an epic saga that we had no choice but to go with. We all felt that this is the way. I believe this is the super right choice." So I can't see any explicit reasons why it would be her. I mean, there's some other quotes about how she was the organic, logical choice, how it was always about her, the saga's been about her, the books are about her if you read them. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I'd say she's a sort of dual protagonist with Geralt. It's partially about her, but I feel sort of like that there are a lot of arguments, but nothing that seems to fit within the actual sort of established lore or things that we know about the character. Just kind of like, we like this character, she has a lot to tell, she has a lot she can do. No sort of reasons why she has a lot to tell or why she has a lot that she can do, but well, maybe we'll see. As I've said before, I'm not against the idea of Ciri being the protagonist. I think it just depends how they tackle this, because at the moment I'm incredibly confused, as I'm sure a lot of fans are, because just Ciri is an overpowered character, and there's nothing wrong with having overpowered characters. It's just playing as one is kind of underwhelming sometimes unless it's done in a careful way. So I think the fact that she seems to have lost the connection with the Elder Blood based on this trailer, or for some reason she's just decided not to use it, maybe it's a personal choice, which would be weird when your purpose is to kill monsters, that she just wants to do it the proper way or something. So we'll have to see. We'll really have to see. I think that this kind of makes me think about the coin we saw before, thinking it was a kind of Defiler's Orin and the sacrifice at the beginning. I wonder if that has any sort of linkage too. We'll have to see as well. And just one final thing I feel like I should really mention based on this trailer, because I decided I was looking at this character and I was looking at her armor and I was looking at sort of what she had going on, and I realized as well while watching the trailer that she is wearing the Lynx medallion. So it seems to me almost confirmed at this point, in my opinion, that Ciri is going to make her own school, which is a lynx, which, based on theories I've talked about before, I think it's going to kind of be like a combination of a wolf and a cat, which is sort of like what a lynx is. So I feel like she's going to be the leader of her own school, or she'll have made her own medallion in some way, and that's I think that I can confidently say, it is a theory still, but I think she's going to be the leader of a new Witcher school, which is the Lynx. Also, I just wanted to add a small point that I realised is also in the trailer, and it seems to be that this trailer was rendered entirely in the Unreal Engine 5, which it looks pretty impressive, and if the gameplay looks anything like the cinematic, that'll be pretty awesome. We'll see what happens. And it's using a undefined, unreleased NVIDIA RTX, so god, I do not know what the requirements for this game are going to be. Kind of scary. And also, one thing I noticed is that it seems like they're using a different English voice actor for Ciri, because the voice actress does not sound similar at all to the Ciri I remember. I mean, I know in the Gwent trailers they used somebody else as well, so maybe they're just moving on with a different actress, but we'll see. So, just to conclude, I would say overall I am very positive about this game. I'm excited for it to come out. I'm not against anything so far. I think that there are a lot of questions, basically. That's how I feel. There's a lot of questions. I want to know, why is Ciri the protagonist? What does this mean? How is it going to fit in with what happened in The Witcher 3? How is it going to fit in with what we know about the character? How did she become a Witcher? Why has she made a new Witcher school? All these different things. We have theories about it, but we've got to see. There are certain things that I can't quite wrap my head around, like the Elder Blood thing is a good example. So I'm really curious about that. I hope we get to see more about that soon. I think it's going to be really interesting. And also, when Doug Cockle, the voice actor for Geralt in the English version of the game, when he mentioned that he's going to have a role in the next game, it makes sense now, right guys? I think we can basically confirm that. And yeah, I feel like I'm excited to see what's going to come out next. I'm excited to see some gameplay especially, and just see how the game actually runs. And I want to just know these lore questions. I want to know how this fits into the world. I don't want it to just be we're brushing it under the rug and she somehow can't use the Elder Blood and we're not going to really tell you why, or she just doesn't want to. I feel like, you know, if they do that, it doesn't feel organic to me that they chose Ciri. It feels like they wanted to use Ciri and they're going to ignore these other aspects that are really important to the lore and the character. So let's see what happens. I'm positive about it. I'm really excited to see what happens, guys. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what you think about playing as Ciri, and, you know, she's been an important character for all of the books and all of the games. It's not like it's out of nowhere. It's interesting, and it's nice that it has a connection, I suppose, to the lore we already know. It's not just something completely new, but as I said, it really depends on how it's implemented. And from the trailer so far, looks good to me, but we'll see exactly what happens. We're going to see exactly how they show the protagonist, because it's an interesting way to reveal it. So let's see what happens, guys. Thanks for watching today's video. If you noticed anything that I didn't quite pick up on this video, let me know. I'll probably do another video soon doing maybe more in-depth breakdowns of little parts of it, but this is just my initial reaction, things I noticed and thought were really important to just get out there and let you guys know. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more Witcher videos, like the video if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys later. Have an awesome rest of the week.